You may have seen it on a shelf, in a church, or in a library. One cover, one spine, one title printed on the front, the Bible. It looks like a single book, complete and finished, as if history received it already bound together. But that finished-looking object hides a much older story. It did not begin as one book. It began as stories told aloud, songs, laws, prophecies, letters, scrolls, translations, and centuries of decisions about what should be preserved. So who actually created it? One author, one ruler, one council, or something more complicated? To understand that, we have to stop seeing the Bible as one book and start seeing it as a library becoming a single volume. Let's get into it right here on Secrets of Simple Things. A library inside one cover. The first clue is in the word itself. Bible comes from the Greek word biblia, meaning books, not book, books. That detail changes everything. Today we see the Bible as one finished object, one cover, one spine, one title. But ancient people did not begin with a complete volume. The writings that later became the Bible first existed separately as individual scrolls. One scroll might contain law, another might hold poetry, another might preserve history, prophecy, wisdom, or letters. So, the Bible was not created like a modern book, written from page 1 to the end by one author. It was assembled from writings produced in different periods, for different communities, and for different reasons. That is the first twist. What looks like one book is actually many pieces of history gathered under one cover. But before those writings became scrolls, they may have lived in an older library, memory. Before writers, there were storytellers. Long before many biblical traditions were written down, they may have traveled by voice. Through families, priests, elders, and communities, stories were repeated, remembered, and passed forward. Many scholars believe stories such as creation, the flood, and the patriarchs likely circulated orally before they became written texts. In the ancient world, oral tradition was not a weaker form of knowledge. It was how communities protected identity, belief, and memory. Before printing presses, bound books, and search bars, the first storage system was the human mind. A storyteller could carry a past. A priest could repeat laws and rituals. So the Bible's earliest layers may have begun not as ink on a page, but as memory carried by people. But memory is fragile. And when a community faces war, exile, and loss, preserving memory becomes more than tradition. It becomes survival. The scribes who turned memory into scripture. As ancient Israel developed, those memories and traditions began to take written form. Priests, scribes, and scholars recorded stories, copied laws, preserved poems, and arranged older material into texts that could survive beyond a single generation. Some biblical books became associated with great names: Moses, David, Isaiah, Jeremiah. But many modern scholars believe some texts may contain older material, later editing, and contributions from different hands across time. The first 5 books, known as the Torah or Pentateuch, are traditionally linked to Moses. Historically, many scholars see them as the result of multiple sources and traditions woven together. A major turning point came in the 6th century BCE during the Babylonian exile. Jerusalem was destroyed. Many Jews were taken far from their homeland. The temple, the city, and the old center of religious life were shaken. In that moment, preserving sacred tradition became urgent. What had once been carried by memory, ritual, and scattered writings needed to be gathered, copied, edited, and protected. Catastrophe helped turn scattered traditions into sacred scripture, so the first part of the Bible was not created by one hand. It was shaped by memory, crisis, scribes, and survival. But centuries later, another movement began around a teacher who never wrote a book himself. The teacher who wrote nothing. The story entered a new stage with the writings Christians would call the New Testament. These texts were written much later, mostly in the 1st century CE, after the life of Jesus. And one detail often surprises people. Jesus himself did not leave behind a book. His teachings first moved through spoken words, memories, sermons, gatherings, and the lives of his followers. Early Christian communities repeated what they had heard and tried to understand what it meant. Only decades later did written accounts begin to appear. The Gospels, known as Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, were connected to early Christian communities preserving the story of Jesus. At the same time, Paul's letters became some of the earliest Christian writings, sent to communities facing questions about belief, practice, conflict, and identity. But these writings did not instantly appear as one finished New Testament. They circulated separately, copied from place to place, read in different churches, and valued by different communities. Writing sacred texts was only half the story. The harder question came later: which writings should count as scripture and which should be left outside? The long argument over what belonged. Once religious writings began to circulate, another problem appeared. There were more texts than any one Bible could hold. There were Gospels, letters, apocalyptic writings, teachings, histories, and other religious works moving through different communities. Some were trusted, some were debated, some were later set aside. The Bible formed not only because people wrote sacred texts, but because communities had to decide which texts carried lasting authority. That process is called canonization. The word canon means a rule or standard. Which writings belonged inside the recognized collection of Scripture. Jewish communities gradually recognized certain books as authoritative. Early Christian communities did the same with the writings that became the New Testament, but this did not happen in one dramatic meeting where everyone finalized the Bible in a single afternoon. It took centuries. Texts were read in worship, copied by scribes, quoted by teachers, debated by leaders, accepted by some communities, questioned by others, and slowly gathered into a more stable form. By the late 4th century, lists resembling today's New Testament were emerging. That is the hidden part of how a Bible is created. A book is not only made by writing words, it is also made by choosing what will be remembered. And this is where one of the most common myths enters the story: the idea that one emperor simply created the Bible. The Constantine Myth. Many people have heard the claim that the Roman Emperor Constantine created the Bible at the Council of Nicaea in 325 CE. It is dramatic, but not really what happened. The Council of Nicaea was important, but its main focus was theological debate, especially questions of Christian belief. It was not a meeting where Constantine personally chose the entire Bible and handed it to the world. That does not mean emperors and councils had no influence. After Christianity gained imperial support, the pressure to standardize belief, worship, and religious texts became stronger. Bishops, councils, and communities helped shape which writings were recognized. But they did not write the Bible from scratch. They helped define its official shape. Even then, the Bible was still not finished in the way most people experience it today, because a book also changes when it crosses languages. Translation: change the Bible's journey. A book can survive for centuries, but every time it moves into a new language, something important happens. It does not become a different book, but it does pass through human choices. The Hebrew Scriptures were translated into Greek in a version known as the Septuagint, centuries before Jesus. Because Greek was widely used, these writings reached communities far beyond their original language. Later, in the 4th century CE, Jerome translated much of the Bible into Latin, creating the Vulgate. For Western Christianity, this version remained central for about 1,000 years. Much later, during the Protestant Reformation, translation became even more important. Reformers wanted ordinary people to read Scripture in their own languages. One famous result was the King James Version, published in 1611. But translation is never just mechanical. A translator must choose words, tones, and meanings. So most readers are also reading the long history of how that text crossed languages. And that leads to one final surprise. Not every tradition even has the exact same Bible. There is not just one Bible. The Jewish Bible, the Catholic Bible, the Protestant Bible, and Orthodox Bibles overlap deeply, but they are not identical in every book they include. Catholic Bibles include deuterocanonical books. Many Protestant traditions do not include them in the main canon. Orthodox traditions may include additional texts as well. That does not mean one group simply forgot pages or another randomly added them. It reflects different histories, languages, communities, and decisions about Scripture. So even the question, who created the Bible, depends partly on which Bible we are talking about. The object may look simple from the outside, but inside it carries centuries of different traditions. So, who actually created the Bible? The honest answer is, no single person did. It was shaped by storytellers who carried memory before ink, by prophets and poets who gave language to crisis and hope, by priests and scribes who copied and arranged sacred traditions, by apostles and early Christian writers whose words moved from community to community, by rabbis, bishops, councils, translators, and believers who protected, debated, and passed these texts forward. From a religious point of view, many believers would say God inspired the Bible through human authors. From a historical point of view, it is a vast collective work, formed across more than 1,000 years. On the outside, it is one familiar object, a book. But inside, it contains memory, exile, argument, translation, devotion, politics, and survival. That may be the most fascinating part. The Bible became powerful not because it appeared all at once, but because so many generations believed it was worth preserving. A book built layer by layer. So the Bible was not created overnight. It was not simply written by one mysterious author, assembled by one emperor, or finalized in one council room. It was built layer by layer, stories remembered, scrolls copied, laws preserved, poems sung, prophecies recorded, letters passed between communities, translations made, debates carried on, and choices repeated across centuries. When we see a Bible on a shelf, we are not just looking at paper, ink, and binding. We are looking at the traces of people trying to protect what they believed was sacred, meaningful, and worth handing to the future. And maybe that is why this story still matters. Sometimes, the most familiar books are not simple at all. They are civilizations folded into pages. If this story made you see a familiar book differently, subscribe to Secrets of Simple Things. And tell us in the comments what everyday object, idea, or question we should uncover next.